The reason you are failing is not a lack of opportunity. It is a lack of speed. You have been waiting for a sign, waiting for the perfect moment, or waiting for a feeling of readiness that is never going to come. While you hesitate, the universe moves on without you. Heaven does not reward your intentions. It only rewards your movement. If you are hearing these words, it is because your tomorrow has become a prison. You have been drifting in the sea of indecision, and drifting is the only sin that the laws of success do not forgive. Today, the delay ends. Today, you learn the law of immediate action. This is the protocol of the masters. Listen closely, because the time you waste thinking about it is the time the devil uses to build your cage. You were not sent to be a spectator of your own potential. You were sent to be the force that dictates the rhythm of your reality. Napoleon Hill discovered that decisiveness is the hallmark of every leader of destiny. Most men are paralyzed by the need for certainty. They want to see the whole staircase before they take the first step. But faith is taking the step while the staircase is still being built. When you move in the dark, you activate a different kind of sight. You begin to sense the infinite intelligence guiding your feet. But this guidance only happens in motion. You cannot steer a parked car, and God cannot steer a man who refuses to move. If you are ready to break the paralysis and learn the protocol of velocity, subscribe to this channel now. This is where we decode the laws that separate builders from dreamers. You live in the most informed generation in human history, and the most paralyzed. Never before have people had access to so much knowledge. Never before have they taken so little action. This is not coincidence. This is design. The modern world has weaponized information against action. You have been taught that more research equals better decisions, that more preparation equals more success, that careful analysis equals wisdom. This is a lie that keeps you frozen. Napoleon Hill studied 500 of the most successful men of his era, and he discovered something that contradicts everything the modern world teaches. The giants moved fast, decisively, often with incomplete information. They understood that perfect information is an illusion, that certainty is a trap, that waiting for all the facts is waiting forever. Because facts change, markets shift, opportunities close, and while you are gathering information, someone else is gathering results. The paralysis epidemic has 3 symptoms. First, analysis paralysis. You research endlessly, but never decide. You compare options until the options disappear. You study success until studying becomes a substitute for succeeding. Second, preparation addiction. You believe you need one more course, one more certification, one more qualification before you can begin. But preparation without execution is just procrastination with a diploma. Third, permission seeking. You wait for someone to tell you that you are ready. You wait for circumstances to align. You wait for a sign from heaven, while heaven is waiting for a sign from you. Hill wrote that the majority of people permit relatives, friends, and the public at large to so influence them that they cannot live their own lives because they fear criticism. This fear manifests as hesitation. And hesitation is how dreams die quietly. If this message is resonating with you, leave a like on this video. It helps this truth reach those who are ready to move. The first law of immediate action is this: movement activates divine guidance. You cannot be guided to a destination if you refuse to take the first step. You cannot receive instructions for the second mile if you will not walk the first. Infinite intelligence operates through motion. It does not reveal the entire path. It reveals the next step. And it only reveals the next step to those who are willing to take it. This is why hesitant men feel lost. Not because guidance is absent, but because they are standing still. And standing still blocks the signal. Napoleon Hill called this phenomenon drifting. The drifter waits for perfect clarity before moving. But clarity only comes through movement. Andrew Carnegie understood this completely. In 1873, during a severe economic depression, Carnegie faced a critical decision. His steel plant was hemorrhaging money. Advisors told him to shut down production and wait for the market to recover. But Carnegie did the opposite. Within 24 hours of the crisis becoming clear, Carnegie decided to expand. He bought struggling competitors at rock-bottom prices. He invested in new technology while others retreated. His advisors called it reckless. His competitors called it insane. But Carnegie understood a principle that changed everything. He said that the man who waits for all conditions to be perfect will never accomplish anything. Carnegie moved immediately. And in moving, he received guidance that standing still could never provide. He saw opportunities invisible to those who were paralyzed by fear. When the Depression ended, Carnegie owned the industry, not because he was smarter than his competitors, but because he moved while they hesitated. This is the first law in action. Movement activates guidance. Hesitation blocks it. You have been waiting for a sign. The sign is the impulse you feel right now, the voice telling you to move. That is infinite intelligence speaking, and it only speaks once before moving to someone who will listen. The second law of immediate action is this. Speed kills doubt before it has a chance to speak. Doubt is not a sudden attack. Doubt is a slow invasion. It begins as a whisper, a question, a hesitation, and if you give it time, doubt multiplies. It recruits fear. It gathers evidence. It builds a case against your vision until the case feels irrefutable. But doubt has one fatal weakness. Doubt is slow, and speed is its natural enemy. Napoleon Hill observed that successful men make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Unsuccessful men make decisions slowly and change them quickly. This is the pattern. The successful man decides in seconds and commits for years. The unsuccessful man deliberates for years and quits in seconds. Why? Because the successful man understands that doubt needs time to grow. And by moving immediately, he starves doubt before it can take root. Henry Ford faced this exact battle. In 1903, Ford had an idea for an affordable automobile. His investors demanded extensive market research. They wanted proof that consumers would buy. They wanted financial projections. They wanted certainty. Ford refused to wait. He gave himself 48 hours to decide whether to pursue the vision. Not months, not weeks, 48 hours. At the end of those 48 hours, Ford committed absolutely. He moved into production before the research was complete, before the investors agreed, before certainty arrived. His speed killed the doubt that would have paralyzed a slower man. And because he moved immediately, Ford created the automobile industry as we know it. This is the second law. Doubt grows in the gaps between decision and action. Eliminate the gaps. Move so fast that doubt has nowhere to land. The voice in your head telling you to wait is not wisdom. It is doubt, disguised as prudence. And if you listen to it, you will wait forever. The third law of immediate action is this. Action precedes clarity, not the other way around. You have been taught backwards. You have been taught to gain clarity first, then act. But Hill discovered the opposite is true. You act first. Clarity comes second. Consider the law of the seed. A seed does not wait for the perfect weather to begin its internal process of growth. It obeys the law of its nature the moment it is planted. The seed does not see the sun. It does not know if rain will come. It does not have clarity about the future, but it moves anyway. It cracks open. It sends roots down and shoots up. And in moving, the seed encounters exactly what it needs. Water finds the roots. Sunlight finds the shoots. Clarity emerges through movement, not before it. You are a divine seed. But you have been trying to negotiate with the seasons. You have been saying, I will start when I am not afraid. I will move when I have clarity. I will act when I am ready. But the law is this. You start, and then the fear dies. You move, and then the power arrives. You act, and then the path appears. Thomas Edison embodied this law completely. Edison did not wait for clarity about how the light bulb would work before beginning. He began with an idea and a hunch, nothing more. For 2 years, Edison conducted experiment after experiment. 10,000 failed attempts. Each failure brought slightly more clarity. Each action revealed information that thinking could never provide. Edison did not think his way to the light bulb. He acted his way to it, and clarity emerged through the process of relentless movement. When asked about his failures, Edison said he had not failed. He had successfully discovered 10,000 ways that do not work. This is the mindset of a man who understands that action precedes clarity. You will never have perfect clarity about your path. Perfect clarity is not the requirement. Movement is the requirement. And clarity will arrive as you move, not before. Comment below where you are watching this video from. I want to see how far this message of velocity is reaching across the world. The fourth law of immediate action is this. Your obedience lag determines your success frequency. Obedience lag is the time between divine instruction and human action. Between the idea arriving and the movement beginning. Between the hunch hitting your heart and your feet starting to walk. Napoleon Hill discovered that this lag is the single greatest predictor of success. Not intelligence, not education, not resources. Obedience lag, the masters have a lag of 0. They see and they do. They hear and they go. They receive instruction and they move immediately. The average man has a lag of days, sometimes weeks, sometimes years. He receives the instruction, then hesitates, he analyzes, he consults, he waits for confirmation. And while he waits, the instruction expires. Because divine opportunities have expiration dates, and those dates are always sooner than you think. John D. Rockefeller understood obedience lag instinctively. In 1870, Rockefeller received information about a refinery for sale. The price was far below market value, but the window to purchase was less than 72 hours. Most men would have spent those 72 hours in deliberation, gathering opinions, running projections, seeking counsel. Rockefeller made the decision in 6 hours. He moved immediately. He purchased the refinery before his competitors even knew it was available. That single act of immediate obedience became the foundation of Standard Oil. Not because the opportunity was unique, but because Rockefeller's obedience lag was shorter than everyone else's. Hill wrote that the majority of people meet with failure because of their lack of persistence in creating new plans to take the place of those which fail. But he also observed that persistence without speed is just slow failure. You must train your obedience lag. You must shrink the gap between instruction and action until the gap disappears entirely. Heaven is watching your response time. When an opportunity is placed in your path, how long do you wait? When a divine hunch hits your heart, how fast do you obey? The frequency of your success is determined by this lag. Shorten the lag, increase the frequency. Subscribe to this channel now if you are ready to learn the protocols that eliminate hesitation and install velocity. The fifth law of immediate action is this. Momentum is built in seconds, but lost in hours. When you act immediately, you enter what Hill called hypnotic rhythm. You create a momentum that becomes difficult to stop. This is the secret of the high achiever. He is not lucky. He is simply moving too fast for doubt to catch him. But momentum is fragile at the beginning. The first hours after a decision are critical. If you delay action even slightly, momentum dies. And once momentum dies, inertia takes over. Inertia is the force that keeps objects at rest. And once you are at rest, enormous energy is required to move again. But if you never stop moving, inertia never takes hold. This is why immediate action is not just faster, it is easier. Because maintaining momentum requires less energy than restarting after stopping. Steve Jobs understood this principle when he returned to Apple in 1997. Apple was 90 days from bankruptcy. Most CEOs would have spent months analyzing the problem, consulting experts, building consensus. Jobs gave himself 1 week. 7 days to decide which products to kill, which to keep, and what direction to take. On day 8, he cancelled 70% of Apple's product line. He fired executives. He made decisions that terrified the board. But his speed created momentum. And that momentum carried Apple from near death to the most valuable company on earth. Jobs later said that deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. But most people never make either decision because they are paralyzed by the fear of choosing wrong. The truth is this: a fast, wrong decision can be corrected. A slow, right decision arrives too late to matter. Speed beats perfection. Always. You have been afraid of making the wrong choice. But the wrong choice is hesitation. Because hesitation guarantees you will miss the window entirely. Build momentum now. Today. This hour. Because momentum built in seconds can carry you for years. But momentum lost in hours can cost you a lifetime. The sixth law of immediate action is this: your identity is proven through the speed of your response. You are not what you intend to be. You are what you do when the moment arrives. A man who calls himself disciplined but hits snooze is not disciplined. A man who calls himself a builder but delays building is not a builder. A man who calls himself faithful but hesitates when called is not faithful. Identity is not declared. Identity is demonstrated. And it is demonstrated through response speed. Napoleon Hill taught that the subconscious mind accepts whatever is impressed upon it through repetition. If you repeatedly hesitate, your subconscious accepts that you are a hesitant person, and it organizes all future behavior around that identity. But if you repeatedly act immediately, your subconscious accepts that you are a decisive person, and it begins to anticipate action instead of delay. This is how identity shifts, not through affirmations alone, but through repeated proof. Every time you act immediately, you are casting a vote for your new identity. Every time you hesitate, you are casting a vote for your old identity. Which identity is winning? The one receiving the most votes. Abraham Lincoln exemplified this law during the Civil War. Lincoln faced constant pressure from generals, politicians, and advisors. Each crisis demanded immediate decision. Lesser men would have delayed. They would have sought more information, more consensus, more certainty. But Lincoln trained himself to decide immediately, not recklessly, but definitively. He would gather input quickly, make the decision, and move forward without looking back. His response speed became legendary, and that speed forged an identity of absolute decisiveness, an identity that held the nation together during its darkest hour. Lincoln did not become decisive by accident. He became decisive by practicing immediate response until it became automatic. You must do the same. You must train response speed until hesitation feels foreign, until immediate action feels natural, until your identity as a decisive person is undeniable. The seventh law of immediate action is this: heaven honors motion over meditation. This will offend spiritual people, but it is true. Prayer without action is conversation without commitment. Meditation without movement is thought without fruit. Faith without works is dead. Napoleon Hill wrote extensively about the power of faith, but he was clear. Faith is not passive belief. Faith is active expectation, followed by immediate movement. The faith that moves mountains is not the faith that sits and waits for the mountain to move itself. It is the faith that grabs the shovel and starts digging. Heaven is not waiting for you to feel more spiritual. Heaven is waiting for you to move. Because movement is the language heaven speaks. Movement is how faith is expressed. Movement is how divine will becomes earthly reality. Moses did not meditate the Red Sea into parting. He lifted his staff and stepped toward the water. The parting happened in motion, not before it. David did not pray Goliath into falling. He picked up 5 stones and ran toward the giant. The victory happened in motion, not before it. You have been waiting for heaven to move first. But heaven is waiting for you. Because the covenant is this: you move, and heaven moves with you. You hesitate, and heaven waits. This does not mean recklessness. This means obedience. When you receive instruction, you move immediately. When you sense direction, you follow without delay. When the hunch arrives, you trust it enough to act. Your meditation must lead to motion. Your prayer must lead to action. Your faith must lead to immediate obedience. Otherwise, you are using spirituality as an excuse for cowardice, and heaven does not honor that. Let us examine the specific moments when ordinary men moved with such speed that they became giants. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell was racing against other inventors to patent the telephone. He had a working prototype, but new competitors were close behind. Bell did not wait for perfection. He filed the patent application immediately, even though his device was still flawed. He filed on February 14th. His competitor, Elisha Gray, filed the same day, just hours later. Bell's patent was processed first, by hours, and that speed gave him ownership of one of the most valuable inventions in history. Had he waited one more day to perfect the design, he would have lost everything. Speed was the difference between fortune and obscurity. In 1976, Steve Wozniak built the first Apple computer in his garage. He showed it to his friend, Steve Jobs. Jobs saw the potential immediately. Most people would have spent months researching the market, building a business plan, securing investors. Jobs gave himself 48 hours. Within 2 days, Jobs had convinced Wozniak to start a company. Within a week, they had their first order. Within a month, they were in production. That speed created Apple. Not better technology, not more capital. Speed. In 1940, Winston Churchill became Prime Minister of Britain as Nazi Germany conquered Europe. Britain faced invasion. Most leaders would have spent weeks forming a strategy. Churchill made the critical decisions in hours. He refused to negotiate with Hitler. He committed Britain to total war. He rallied the nation with immediate, decisive leadership. His speed saved Western civilization. Because hesitation would have meant surrender. These men were not reckless. They were responsive. They understood that opportunities have expiration dates. And those dates are always sooner than you think. Enough history, let us speak about your execution. Here is your protocol for immediate action, not theory, practice. First, the 60-second rule. When you receive an instruction, a hunch, or an idea, you have 60 seconds to take the first physical action toward it. Not to complete it, just to begin. If the idea is to start a business, the first action might be writing the name down. If the idea is to make a call, the first action is picking up the phone. If the idea is to create something, the first action is opening the document. 60 seconds, no more. This trains your obedience lag to shrink from days to seconds. Second, the morning velocity ritual. Within 60 seconds of waking, take one action toward your definite chief aim. Not thinking about it, not planning it. Action, this programs your subconscious. That action is your default state. It builds momentum before the day begins. It proves your identity before doubt can speak. Third, the decision protocol. When a decision arrives, set a timer for 5 minutes. Gather the essential information only. When the timer ends, decide immediately. No extensions, no delays. This eliminates analysis paralysis. It forces decisiveness. It proves that most decisions do not require the time you think they require. Fourth, the evening velocity review. Before sleep, review your day and identify every moment where you hesitated. Not to condemn yourself, but to recognize the pattern. Then visualize yourself in that same moment, taking immediate action. See it, feel it. Program your subconscious with the new response. This is how you reprogram hesitation into velocity. Fifth, eliminate decision escape routes. Remove the phrase, "I will think about it," from your vocabulary. Remove, "Let me get back to you." Remove, "I need more time." These phrases are exits. They allow hesitation to masquerade as wisdom. Close the exits. Decide now. This protocol is simple, but simplicity does not mean easy. This requires discipline. This requires that you value speed over comfort. But if you apply this protocol for 30 days, your obedience lag will collapse. Your identity will shift. Your results will prove it. Here is the question you are asking. How do I distinguish between immediate action and reckless impulse? This is the critical distinction. Speed is not haste. Velocity is not recklessness. Immediate action is obedience to divine instruction. Reckless impulse is obedience to ego anxiety. How do you know the difference? Immediate action feels calm. Even when it is fast, there is an underlying peace, a knowing. A sense that this is right, even if it is uncomfortable. Reckless impulse feels frantic, driven by fear of missing out, driven by comparison, driven by the need to prove something. Immediate action serves your definite chief aim. It aligns with your purpose. It moves you toward the vision you have been building. Reckless impulse serves your ego. It seeks validation. It seeks escape. It seeks distraction from the real work. Napoleon Hill taught that every decision should be filtered through your definite purpose. If the action serves that purpose, move immediately. If it does not, decline immediately. This is the test. Does this action serve my purpose or my ego? If purpose, go. If ego, stop. Another test is this. Can you afford to be wrong? Immediate action works best in areas where the cost of being wrong is low and the cost of delay is high. Starting a business has low cost. If wrong, you learn and adjust. But delaying for years has high cost. You lose time you can never reclaim. Making a major financial investment has high cost if wrong. This requires more consideration. But even here, speed matters. Decide quickly whether to investigate. Then investigate quickly. Then decide. The goal is not recklessness. The goal is eliminating unnecessary delay. Most decisions require far less time than you give them. Let us be direct about what hesitation costs you. Every hour you delay is an hour of momentum lost. Momentum that would have carried you forward now must be rebuilt from zero. Every day you delay is a day of compound growth lost. Growth that would have multiplied now remains potential instead of reality. Every week you delay is a week of identity reinforcement lost. The identity of a decisive person would have been proven. Instead, the identity of a hesitant person is reinforced. Every month you delay is a month of opportunity cost. Opportunities that were available, close windows that were open shut. People who were ready move on. Every year you delay is a year of your life spent in the waiting room instead of the arena. And you do not get those years back. Hill observed that the majority of people go to their graves with their music still in them. Not because they lacked talent, not because they lacked opportunity, but because they waited for the perfect moment to begin. And the perfect moment never came. Because perfect moments do not exist. There are only moments, and your job is to act in them. The cost of delay is not just external, it is internal. Every time you delay, you teach your subconscious that your word means nothing, that your commitments are negotiable, that your intentions are optional, and a man who cannot trust himself cannot be trusted by heaven. This is the hidden cost. Delay does not just steal your opportunities, it steals your integrity. And without integrity, no amount of opportunity matters. The law of immediate action is not a suggestion. It is the pattern of every person who ever built anything significant. You now understand the 7 laws. Movement activates divine guidance. Speed kills doubt. Action precedes clarity. Obedience lag determines frequency. Momentum is built in seconds. Identity is proven through response speed. Heaven honors motion over meditation. These are not theories. These are laws that govern achievement. The question is not whether you understand them. The question is whether you will obey them. Right now, in this moment, you have an opportunity to prove your new identity. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Now. Speak these words with the full force of your conviction. I move with the speed of purpose. I do not hesitate. I do not delay. My action is the proof of my faith. I act immediately when instruction arrives. I trust the guidance that comes through motion. I eliminate the gap between thought and action. I am a man of velocity. I am a woman of decisive power. My obedience lag is 0. My identity is proven through my response speed. I do not wait for permission. I am the permission. I am the movement. I am the command. Speak this until your bones vibrate with truth. Write this until it becomes law in your subconscious. Subscribe to this channel now if you are committed to the protocol of immediate action. Like this video so others who are paralyzed by hesitation can find freedom through velocity. Comment below where you are watching from. Let me see how far this message has traveled. The time of drifting is over. The time of deliberation is finished. The time of waiting for readiness has ended. This is your moment. Not tomorrow's moment. This moment. What you do in the next 60 seconds will determine whether you are a man of action or a man of intention. Heaven is watching your response time. Move now.